Hot Nerds. Today we are going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do something called the Writer's Circle. We'll be diving deep into the minds of two fabulous writers from one of our favorite shows, Power Book 2 Ghost. I am your host, Hot Nerd D, and this is Hot Nerd Syd. Today we'll be interviewing two of the fabulous writers, again from Power Book 2 Ghost. The first one being Lacey Herbert. So Lacey Herbert is a television writer originally from Washington, D.C. area. She worked on the NAACP award-winning series Power Book Ghost 2, known for writing mid-season finale episodes. She got her degree in broadcast journalism from the University of Maryland College Park. Whoop, whoop, shout out to her. And in her former life, she worked in the unscripted space, producing a show for HGTV and a handful of mini documentaries focusing on social justice and identity politics. Her writing tends to focus on family drama, crime, identity, magical realism, and the Black experience in America. Welcome, Lacey. Yes, welcome to you, Lacey. And now Syd will introduce our next writer.
Yes. Next, we have Ashley Victoria Hudson, who grew up in Monticello, Mississippi, and graduated from William Carey University and the University of Mississippi School of Law. We have a lawyer here. Upon graduating from law school, she moved to California to attend Chapman University, where she obtained an LLM in entertainment law. Before transitioning to a full-time writer, Ashley worked in the legal department of various companies such as Lionsgate Entertainment, Creative Artists Agency, and Columbia Pictures, Sony Entertainment. Most recently, Ashley was staffed on the Power spinoff, Power Book 2 Ghost, and aspires to become a showrunner. But ultimately, Ashley wants to shape the way television is viewed, not just as a writer, but as a generational defining artist. At their core, Ashley's character-driven dramas, no matter the genre, are authentic portraits of the human experience. Set in law, politics, or sports, they are gritty and deep-rooted in family trauma. While Ashley is not writing, she enjoys binge-watching the many seasons of every Housewives franchise with her wife, Heather. Shout out to you, Ashley. Welcome.
Yes, welcome to you both. Thank you so much for joining us today. We can't wait to go right in and get started.
Yeah, I mean, my first question, I just have to jump right in, is like, wow, law. It's crazy because when you're watching these shows, my dad's a police officer, and he's like, sometimes he's like, this is not the real, thing, But like, you as an actual lawyer, did that feed into, I has to have fed into your writing, right?
I mean, to be fair, before I got into the writer's room, my wife and I would pause every television show and say, this is so inauthentic. It would never happen this way. You can't murder someone on Thursday and go to court on Monday, right? To the writer's room, you realize, like, okay, you got like 35 to 55 minutes. Like, you got to tell the story. And so we find ways to speed it up. But it also has to be entertaining. Like, no one wants to sit through, like, pre-motions, like objection to evidence. Like, it's not exciting. So, we get it. But yeah, there are definitely moments where I'm thinking, may I curse? Like this don't go right. Like, this is going to be, the lawyers are mad somewhere, but it's fine.
I love that. Yes, I'll pass it back to you.
Well, yeah, since you jumped right into the writer's room and getting to break down how that works, we would love to know from your point of view, like, can you explain what a writer room is and how it works?
I mean, yeah, I was like, either of us. So a writer's room is like the collection of writers for a show, right? So for season 1 of our show, and then most shows that go on, you're actually physically in a room together with all of the writers of all levels, as well as usually the writer's PA, the writer's assistant, the script coordinator. And you're literally like sitting around a table, almost like improvising and pitching all day, trying to figure out the story and either present it to the showrunner or figuring out that story with the showrunner. So it's kind of like exactly what it sounds like. It's a room full of writers for the show that are coming up and crafting the story and building the season.
And how does that start? Like, do you come with your own ideas and then you flesh them out at the table, or do you have to come with a full project and then you discuss from there?
I guess I'll take this. So like for ghosts specifically, we come in. Sure, I feel like people come in and they have pitches that they've thought about in their brains overnight. They're like, okay, I like how this is going. I want to pitch it this way. But in general, we do things in that room as a collection, right? So you can come in with I want to do this, but usually, not even usually, I've never seen a person come in with an entire like episode broken down. Like it's just like everything is it's literally a collective. So every episode you see is written by one person, but it is from the minds of 10 to 12 people. And so it's coming in and saying, hey, where are we at with this person's story or arc? And it's pitching what we think should or could go next, or maybe not even next. It could be another episode, but then it allows us to build in this episode ways to get to that point that we're trying to get to in that episode that's further down the season.
Gotcha. And
Yeah.
what would you say is like your first step? Do you start with the characters? Do you start with the story? Or like where would you say is like for you personally, like where you like to go initially for your strategy?
Oh, you
So
mean
not
my
the
own
show or
writing or for
us
ghosts? Yeah.
For both. For both.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Conclusion.
I'll answer for Ghost first.
Okay.
'Cause I'm sure we probably have like different answers for the other one. But I would say like this is gonna sound like a joke, but like literally it's built kind of like brick by brick, right? So sometimes we start by building out the season. Sometimes the showrunner will come in with an idea of like where they want the season to end up. And we build from there. Sometimes they'll come in with an idea of how they want it to start, and we kind of figure out, okay, well, where are we going? Sometimes they'll come in with just a theme that they want to hit for the season. And so we'll build the character arcs around that theme. So it kind of starts with the macro of like, what does the season look like? And then we go into the micro episode by episode in a process that we call breaking. So like we figure out, we break the season and then we come in and we actually break the individual episodes collectively.
Wow.
Gotcha.
That is literally so fascinating because, so I mean, even just from the outside looking in, some things can look so cohesive that it feels as if, somebody just came with all of this ready to go. But the
Right.
fact that it's collaborative is so cool. I had a question just about like what are the different, I could see like from your resume, like all the different types of levels that you all had in the writer's room. Like, could you explain to us, like even, oh, I'm sorry. I know you all. We were just supposed to come back. We can definitely go back to like the original question that you had though about how you individually approach. But do you mind answering just like what do those different levels do in a writer's room?
Sure, I can. I mean, so I started off season one as a writer's PA. Essentially, that is just like a runner for the writers in the room. So you get coffee, you get lunch, you're an office manager. You kind of just do a lot of random different things. The great thing about, in my opinion, Ghost is that Courtney set the precedent that support staff, which Lacey and I both started as, can pitch in the room, and she accepts pitches from everybody, right? And so it allows you to kind of learn the process differently. In some rooms, like the PA is never allowed in the room. And in my situation, I was allowed in the room every day as long as I had the time to do it, which means other work was done. No,
Right.
no harm, no foul for me. So that's the writer's PA. It's kind of a runner, coffee, whatever. And then writer's assistant is the person in the room with the writers all day taking notes.
Okay.
And then the script coordinator is your grammar, your like stylistic person. They make sure all the scripts are cohesive and they look exactly the same.
Okay.
And then once you like that, those are your support staff, except showrunner's assistant. Showrunner's assistant, I think, is self-explanatory. You're the assistant to the showrunner. So hey, whatever he or she says, that's on you, dog. Like that's what that is. And then hierarchy, right? Like the WGA has already set out hierarchy for writers. Start with staff writer, end with executive producer. I can run through the hierarchy if you want, but mostly those positions, they do the same thing from my opinion. Someone can totally correct me. I mean, in some ways, when you get to producer level, it can change, but they're in the writer's room, they write the scripts, you go to set, you produce your episodes, but like, you're on staff at that point. So your job is to make the showrunner's job easier, is what
Yeah.
the job is.
Wow.
And just to like add on to Ashley, because that was a perfect answer. I think also what happens to just in terms of like it feels like everyone from like staff writer to executive producer can sometimes feel like the same job. Courtney Kemp, who is the creator and showrunner of Power, she allowed everyone to just have ownership over the story. Like Ashley said, the writer's PA was able to pitch, the writer's assistant was able to pitch, the, script coordinator is able to pitch. And so it allows you to feel like you're a part of the process. It allows you to kind of like really get in. There are pitches that Ashley had season one that made it into the story. There are pitches that I had season one that made it into the story. And so
Wow.
when you're a writer, it feels kind of like we all do the same job because she also really advocated for all of us to go to set and produce our episodes. So on some shows that might change, that might be a little bit different, but at least on Ghosts and the way that our room was ran, everyone kind of has ownership of story, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
Wow.
What was each of you first pitch? Like what?
I have no clue.
Oh, I have no clue. I have no clue.
I should put it down, actually. I should put it down. I don't know, but it's funny because season one, I sat in a chair in a corner and Lacey was like right across from me in a chair in the opposite corner. And we would oftentimes we're like,
Yep.
it was like directly in front of us at the other end in the middle of the room because she always sat at the same place. So yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But I don't remember my first pitch or Lacey's for that matter. But hey.
No, I definitely don't. It was too long ago, but also like the way that pitching happens is like, and that's why I always compare it to improv because it's fast. So like Ashley can have an idea, and then the moment that I have an idea that I'm like, oh, it kind of complements hers, or even if it's an idea that I'm like, I actually don't think Ashley's pitch works. This is why I don't think it works, and this is a pitch I think is better. It's all happening like that fast.
Wow.
So I couldn't tell you what my first pitch was because there's so much talking that happens in the room, which is why you need a writer's assistant. You need someone to be the keeper of story and the keeper of pitches because there's so much that's said throughout the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So she's so excited to hear that. Someone's taking notes.
Yeah, someone's taking. I like being secretary all the time, but like keeper of story. What is this title? Like, what is who does what does that person do?
So that is the writer's assistant. I just said keeper of story because that's kind of like essentially their job, right? So they're taking notes to like one, get down all of the pitches that have been said, to also highlight and make sure that the pitches that the showrunner likes the most are moved over. The ones that have been settled on, because again, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of pitching that's happening. So someone needs to be able to say, okay, these were the ones that the showrunner actually liked. These are the ones that we're going to work on tomorrow. These are the ones that are completely thrown out, but we have to keep it just in case we have to circle back to a bad pitch. Sometimes that happens.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me just let me be very clear right here. This is Lacey's way of doing the job because she did it phenomenally. Everyone does not do the job phenomenally. So you could go to Lacey and say, hey, like, what did we land on for X? And she could answer, don't be fooled. There are people
100%.
who get paid for the job that you ask. You don't even ask them a question. They don't know the answer. It's not even
We're
important.
not paying attention.
Yourself. So yeah, Lacey can call herself keeper of story. Not all writers' assistants are keepers of story.
Wow. Yes, we love that. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Ashley. No, I honestly, when I think about that time period, I'm like, I think that my brain doesn't work the same anymore because Courtney would be able to say, like, what was that one pitch that I liked last week? And I would remember what that one pitch was that she must be referring to from last week that with no context. My brain just doesn't work like that anymore. I don't know what happened.
Beautiful. That's beautiful though. It seems like y'all had like a chemistry there, which is literally one of the questions that we had. Like, I know even for myself when I was just getting into the original Power story, I just thought it was so cool that there was a Black woman really leading the to me at least, leading the writer's room. And just to you all as Black women, like what was that like for you all to work in her presence? And were there any special moments that you could tell us about?
You can go first.
I was trying to see if you were gonna go. I mean, honestly, like there is just something that's so magical about being able to like see yourself in that role, right? So there are a lot of white men that hold that same title, right? And those are the people that, you're going to see the vast majority of. So Courtney is not someone that's like among many, many, many Black showrunners, right? And Black women showrunners specifically. So one, being able to just like work under her and learn from her is incredible. And she's a great mentor, but also just even being able to see, like Ashley said, we used to sit on like opposite sides of the room, but across from her, and being able to kind of see her at the head of the table it like lets you know that like that's possible for you too. And Courtney was really big about promoting from within. So you knew that as an assistant working on one of her shows, there was a strong chance that you would be able to like move up the ranks. And I do think that like there is something to a Black woman doing that that is just incredible and special. So no specific stories, just
Yes,
the entire experience.
yeah, the
The
experience
essence.
overall.
Yeah, no, it's true. Shout out to Courtney A. Kemp for sure. Because I mean, as you can see, it's two women of color that are saying we were both promoted by her, but it is a goal of hers to hire people who she sees can actually be writers
Mm.
and promote them. And like
Mhm.
I worked under as an assistant under her for writers PA, writers assistant, and I was her showrunner's assistant. So three different assistant positions. At the first one, she literally told me like, yeah, you may not get promoted now, but like if you stick to the course, I will undoubtedly promote you.
Wow.
And fast forward a year and a half later, and like she stuck to her word, which if you know anything about Hollywood, you know people be lying. Like I don't know another way to say it. If, so to say like, yeah, I worked with her, and more importantly, I think inspired by her is like you can't get it any other way. Like as her showrunner's assistant, if you do the job properly, you are a mini showrunner, right?
Yeah.
So you're just there, and it's something that you can't get anywhere else. You're in meetings, you get to understand how the episodes are put together. Like in the writers' room, that's one piece of it. But when you outside the writers' room as a showrunner, is so many other elements to it. And when I was her showrunner, she was literally Ghost was off the ground. Kanan was like kind of off the ground.
Yeah.
Force was being like it was like in development, lifting off. So to see those processes, every single show was in a different stage. It's like it's you can't get that anywhere else. And the access and the transparency that she does the job with allows for you to really understand what you're getting yourself into. And then she gives you the choice. You want to bow out and like go do something else, or do you want to be promoted? Of course, promote me, please, right?
I really want that. Do you want a golden ticket?
But yeah, I really think you learn as much as you can from someone who's willing to give you the game and give you the game in a way that's just like, hey, like she's just talking to you real. And for me, I think when being her showrunner assistant, I think I got to know her on a more personal level too. And even the way that she's transparent about like motherhood and about being a Black woman in entertainment and about just being a Black woman, period, right? Like and being a person of faith, like all the things, like yeah, she's definitely somebody I feel like, hey, shout out to Courtney Kemp. She doesn't probably get the love and respect that's deserved, but it is deserving for her.
Yes. Yeah. You're here to give her flowers as well, because that's
Absolutely.
just so wonderful to hear, that you're in an immersive experience and that you're getting also like what you're putting in,
Yes.
like you're not going to work feeling, like I'm burnt out or I'm not getting anything from this experience. It's something that, like as you guys were explaining.
I'll say stop and say slow your roll. I ain't say all that, but yeah, all the other stuff.
Very fair.
Yeah, we gonna work hard if we don't do nothing else.
We were working. We were working.
We're working.
Period. No, I was like, I literally, I remember, okay, fun fact. I this is when I was like really on Twitter, because what is Twitter now? But back when the show first started, like in the first season, and I saw that she was the showrunner, I was like, shout out, I found her ad, I was like, shout out Courtney Kemp, and like, I just tweeted it. Came back to my phone, she retweeted it. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like she looked at my tweet. Either way, yeah, been a fan, and I didn't realize until I was like doing more research that she's still involved, like of course, and it's amazing. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, now that we discussed kind of more high level how the writer's room works, now we want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into the story structure and how after, the collaborative ideas come together, like how it all ends up in like the final product. And so how would you guys plan or execute like character arcs? Because this being a spinoff, we are seeing the resurgence of certain archetypes resurfacing. One being the most obvious with Tariq and Ghost, even Brayden and Tommy. Even you can argue too, like Diana being similar to Tasha. So is this something like in a spinoff that is purposeful? Like, are we supposed to be getting those feelings when we see these characters, or how is that story structure supposed to evoke like on the audience?
I would say, like you said, it's a spinoff, right? So we are carrying over some characters, but we're also introducing some new ones. I think that Tariq is kind of experiencing something that I think we all universally experience, which is turning into our parents. As much as some people fight it and some people happily lean into it, it's inevitable in many ways.
Yeah.
And so I think that as much as he resists it, we definitely still watch Tariq inherit a lot of things from Ghost.
Yeah.
So again, I just kind of feel like that part's true to life. So to me, it's not surprising at all that he ended up in a love triangle with women who reflect his mom, Tasha, and women who reflect Angela. So I would say yes, like it was intentional to align him with those two choices in women from like specifically an inheritance perspective.
Okay.
Effie's carried over from Powers, so
True.
from my understanding, she's always kind of been her own character, but I do think that she kind of splits the difference between Lauren and Diana. We always joke in the room that she's like, sometimes she's the porridge that's just right. And so I do think that like that's also changed over the seasons in some ways, but I do think that she, in a lot of ways, is a mirror for Tariq.
Yes. Even from a personality perspective in certain ways. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I would say, like, in terms of the character archetypes, like you said, I do think that some of it is intentional because we're playing into inheritance. Inheritance was actually the theme of season one.
Okay.
But also, I think that we do have some characters that are just completely new. And um, yeah, like Diana 100% does like align with Tasha. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Lauren 100% does align with Angela. I would agree with that. But I think that we also have some other characters that are totally their own.
Yeah, because I love that you just mentioned that Effie is like his mirror, or in a way, like sometimes he acts as though he resents her, and it's almost because he might resent himself. And so it is, like you said, like that mirror, like I'm seeing all the parts of me that I'm constantly trying to hide, or, be like a ghost that you can't see. But like when I look at her, like when I had to interact with her, I see like all of what I can be, both good and bad, because intellectually, Effie is like on his level. Strategy wise, she's on his level. And then, also could be a little conniving as well. And a little bit more on the devious side that, also I just appreciate about her character, because we don't necessarily want to see like female characters go in that lane, but I love that she kind of fully leans into that, and isn't ashamed that she has to make hard decisions, and that she has to do some of the things that other characters look at her like, you did that, like you would take out Lauren in that way, and it's like, yes. Yeah, we all had to. Why is anybody else even considering that? So I do definitely kind of agree with that perspective, and could see how she is, like you said, like the perfect porridge, or like the perfect kind of mixture of it all.
I think so. What can also happen? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I would say I think what also can happen, and we see this, is like they're also constantly in a cycle, right? Because they are very similar in a lot of ways. So like Effie does something to Tariq, Tariq does something to Effie, and they're back in a bad place. So, and I think that's what comes from actually like their similarities. So I say mirror. I think one of the interesting things about working in a writer's room that is different than like working on a film is that it is extremely collaborative. They always say that like if you're a social person, work in TV. If you're an antisocial person, work in film.
Wow.
Yeah, they always say that. So I think that part of the collaboration is that can be my interpretation of Tariq and Effie, and another writer that works on the show can have a completely different interpretation of their relationship. So that's all I was going to say, Ashley.
No, and I was gonna say you said it. Your first thing that you said is like the theme of the series, like the entire series theme, the question that we're trying to answer with each episode and each season is, am I my father? Right. And so, like, when you end Power season 6, Tariq is like, in his brain, I feel that Tariq feels he's better than his father, right? Like
Yes.
he kills his father and he feels
Yeah,
like,
I protected my butt. Like, yeah.
yeah, like, I can do this shit better than him, and he 25 years older than me. Like, I feel like that's Tariq's vibe. And as we go through Ghost, what he should be realizing with each episode, with each action, whether it's good or bad, is that sometimes, whether you want to be or not, you are your father, right? It may not be in totality, but like, so that is what we're doing with each episode. Is like, am I my father? Yeah, sometimes I'm my father, whether I got his bad characteristics or good ones. Like, I can't run from who I am, and I am Ghost,
Yeah. And I
Yep.
think we kind of see him like lean into that in the most recent episode. Like I kind of feel like that was the first time we at least hear from him in a very straightforward way
Yeah.
that he recognizes that.
Yep. I agree, because I would say, like, in past season, it's like anytime you like brought up Ghost, he's like, I don't even want to talk about him. I'm not my dad. I'm not my dad. Stop bringing him up. He was a monster. I'm not. And then it's like this episode, like you were just saying, he's like, you know what? Maybe I am my dad. Maybe I do have some of his parts in me, and maybe I can use that to my advantage, or use it to his advantage. And Ashley, just like you just mentioned, like, he thinks he is like better than Ghost, or like, okay, well, he tried to protect us from leaving or trying to exit the game, but I'm gonna take the strategy now of, I'll just be on top and see if that works out for me. And it's like the whole scene where he has the epiphany of in a way, like, three different ways of how he can be taken out, or in the same way, the same trajectory as his father. It's like, do you really think that being on top is going to protect you, or are you going to see later on that a lot of the things that your dad possibly in a very convoluted way may have made sense in the moment, that you just haven't experienced it, like you said, because he doesn't have the same amount of time that Ghost had. So it's like, now that he is kind of like getting that experience, like, it's almost like a matter of time whether he'll be able to even really answer his own question, like, will this really work out for me, or will I have the same kind of demise as my father? So
I think too, as a young person, and this is just in life, not just Tariq, but we all have a goal that we're trying to get to, and we all think the only way to accomplish this goal is to be on top. So I'm positive that James St. Patrick also had the exact same thought that Tariq had in 405. And whether he realizes Tariq in that moment, like the parallel of storytelling between, like, oh, we saw Ghost at the top, and now we're seeing like Tariq at his beginning, like the parallels are there to see what Tariq will look like in 20 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like adding on to what you're saying, we come into the first episode of Power with this fully formed adult, right? So we have someone who we meet him, he's at the top. Of course, there's like places for him to grow, but he is specifically trying to grow in a specific direction, right? So he says, I want to get out, I want to live this legit life. But he's already kind of made it to the pinnacle of like where he's been, whereas we're watching Tariq try and get there. So I think that they're also like, we're coming into our story at a very different time. We didn't see Ghost kind of like be developed and like make those same mistakes that we're watching Tariq make.
Absolutely. I was thinking that even just watching the show, like, whenever you are, well, even as a fan, I'm looking at what are they going to do from a world building perspective when they introduce a spinoff of some sort. And I love that even though this is a sequel, it can kind of feel like a prequel the way that like he's making some of these decisions. It's like, did Ghost make those same ones when he was his age? I know this was years in the past and they didn't have the same sort of technology. It wasn't the same sort of world, but you could imagine that Ghost was faced with some of these similar, decision points that Tariq was in. Yeah.
100%. Like, because you made the comparisons with the Angela and Lauren and all those things. It's like, oh well, Angela chose to leave Jamie, but Tariq had to get Lauren out, right? And so it's like these are the things that we're faced with young love, and like life is life, and everyone's life can mirror someone else's in some ways.
Yeah.
Mhm. I definitely agree. And just even touching on that, what are some of like the personal aspects that you all like bring from your own life or your own experience into the writing, and how does that weave in, or how are you able to kind of showcase even like your own personality like while you're also developing the characters?
I think I'm not going to answer the question fully right now, but like just overarching, I think again, like one thing about a writer's room that's really cool is we all are coming in from different backgrounds, different places, different experiences. We all, I'm sure, relate to each character in different ways. We all know a character, like someone who's like these characters. There are definitely people in the show that people have directly like told in just an anecdote from their life, right? Just like, I have a friend who did this last weekend, I did that in college, this happened to me. This happened to me in my childhood, and those stories will actively get weaved into the story, and they become a part of a different character.
So
Um, which is very cool. I like that is one of my favorite things about working in a writer's room. And I always tell like my mom this. The way that I know my coworkers, no, there is no way that anyone else in the world could know their coworkers in the same way that people who work in writers' rooms do, because I've shared things with the writers' room that I've never shared with my family. So, even if it's just like on an emotional level, like I felt this way about, X, Y thing, like we are fully putting ourselves out there and allowing the space to be vulnerable. Hopefully, everyone's in a room that they can be vulnerable
Yeah.
in. But I think all the writers are in the show in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
in different capacities. Yeah, that was like my pre-answer to my actual answer. You can go, Ashley.
No. What you just said is accurate. That's exactly what I would say. Is you're weaved in various ways, because a lot of times in the writers' room, we're not necessarily asking the question, what should Tariq be doing? What we're asking is a different question about like everybody individuals. Like if this were to happen to you, how would you respond?
yeah.
You can say your response, and then like most times the showrunner's like, oh, well, this is how Brashandra should say that in class, and this is how Tariq should answer in class. Like it's like we're building it in, but it's all literally elements of our answer to a question that wasn't related to the TV show at all.
Yeah. Even like just sorry, when you just said that, it reminded me of something. Like the name Bruchandria. So we were in the room talking about people who, will take the mom's name and take the dad's name and then put it together and make the kid's name.
Yeah.
And I was telling them about this girl that I met named Bruchandria. And another person in the room was like, "Oh, that's actually like my name. Like it's my mom and my dad's name put together." And then maybe 2 weeks later, Courtney was like, "Oh, also we're gonna name that character Bruchandria." So it's like you never know what's gonna make it in, when it's gonna make it in. Like,
So cool.
yeah, we're just sharing our stories and our lives and experiences with each other. And of course, there are things that happen in the show that like none of us have experienced, right? Hopefully,
No.
Never
but
murdered anyone, that's for sure.
yeah, right. I've never shot anyone, so
We hope.
I know. Let's
yeah.
just clear the air.
I want it on record. I want
I
to.
know.
Watching very because yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because not only, do our, personal experience or what you were just speaking to can weave into the story, like even like more grander scale things that are happening on the outside, like things that are happening on a global aspect, or even things that specifically are pertaining to you all, especially in terms of the writer's strike. And how wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that as well. How did this, impact your writing? How did it impact, also too, just your overall life, like, because it's so interweaved clearly into what you all are doing?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, the writing aspect, especially for the final season, I wrote episode 409, so it came much later. But the strike, we were going, we around April to something, you're like, okay, we're going to strike because nothing is happening here. And I remember the showrunner for season 4, shout out Brett Mahoney. He called. It was like April the 29th or something. It was like really close to May 1st, and he was like, look, we got to rewrite the entire second half of the script. And we got to do it before May the 1st. Well, before May 2nd, right? It's really May the 1st at like 11:59 p.m. And so he and I sat on the phone. We did like a mini little writer's room where I was taking notes with him on speakerphone, and we're like talking about it. And then I'm like, okay, so this is good. Can I run it by a few other people? He's like, I don't care. Let's just figure it out. So like I called Sarah Rose, who's a writer on the room. I called Lacey. We like talked about it. I'm like, this is what Brett's thinking. This is what I'm thinking. How did this sound? And we like talked about it. Wow. And then I literally had to flip the script around in like 24 hours.
Wow.
Because we knew the strike was coming. So for me, that's like an immediate way. And I'm like, any other situation, we do a little scene here, scene there. We rewrite some more. But this one was like, I don't think I've ever had to rewrite 20 pages in like overnight. And it has to be good enough to shoot. Like we're not talking about a writer's draft. We're talking about a production draft. Like we're talking about something that will actually show up on screen. And so, yeah, the writer's strike, I mean, yeah, it was kind of fucked up. And this was the result of it. It's like doing stuff like that. But I will say it was actually hella fun on the, like, now I'm like, oh, that was actually good times. It was like exhilarating. It was exciting.
I would do it again. I would do it again.
Let's pitch some shit out that we're going to put on screen, you know? So, yeah, it's crazy, but it's also like fun and exciting.
Wow. That just makes it so much exciting to be able to like we'll know that watching, you know, that this was started 24 hours. That's crazy.
Second half of the script.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is like a lot of pages. Like saying second half of the script, just to be clear, is about 30 pages.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, we changed the second half of the episode.
Wow. Because is it 1 minute per page? Is that usually how? Okay,
that's what they say, but Power, we don't. I'm not sure we live by that rule at Power because it is the pace of Power is it like Ghost rolls at a very it's momentous pace.
Okay,
I'm not so sure we're doing a minute a page. No, I don't think so.
My gosh.
Oh, yeah, we come in and out of scenes for sure. It's very fast. Yeah. Yes. Like similar to you, Ashley, like I had my own kind of experience. So because I was episode 5, so I'm a few episodes before Ashley's. At the time when Ashley was rewriting the second half of her script, my episode was ending. So I was on set shooting my episode right before the strike happened. A little bit probably before she was rewriting, but it was crazy because we knew that it was, potentially coming down. But I'm on set actually shooting the episode. So there was kind of a conversation of, okay, if that happens, is the next writer coming to New York? Because we shoot in New York, but our writer's room is in LA. So it was like, is the next writer coming to New York? If they come, are they going to get stopped in the middle of it? What's going to happen? So that was like crazy for me. I think what affected my episode specifically was just like the post-production process. So normally what happens is, we're in the room, we're breaking an episode. After you break the episode, you start writing an outline. The outline goes through its own process, and then you start writing your script. The script goes through its own process, but eventually gets to that production draft that you're actually going to go and shoot. So after you shoot, usually what happens is the director does their cut of the episode. And so you're watching that, and then you're giving notes on that. Then the producer's cut comes out, you're watching that, you're giving notes on that. And things are still happening. Scenes are getting cut. ADR is happening where you're changing certain lines. There's still like a little bit of like a writing process that can happen on the back half in that post-production process. So because of the strike, like I wasn't able to be involved in that whatsoever. Same with most of the writers who came after my episode. So there are people, I just talked to the writer of the finale who has never seen a cut of his episode to this day. So he will watch it for the very first time when it airs.
Wow.
And that's not usual for us. So the strike definitely affected the season in different ways for different episodes.
Got it. So just to clarify, like, because I have a little stalker of you, Lacey, and I would see when you would like go to New York to like shoot your episode. Were you not able to do that for episode 5?
So I was able to do that. So
Okay.
fortunately, I was able to actually go to New York and produce my episode. But the back half of like the editing process,
Okay,
I
got
was
it.
able to be a part of, and then same with like episode 5 and on, because that was all happening during the strike. So they were still shooting, and because of the union rules, we're not able to be involved in that. Work shuts down completely.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that I was able to be on set. I'm grateful that I was able to produce.
Stop bragging, Lacey. I was
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to tease Ashley. Well, you got to produce 2 episodes, season 3, so I don't feel that bad anymore. I don't feel that bad.
Later, yeah.
But it is, it's such a privilege. Like, it's actually something that does not happen and often anymore, because a lot of the time they don't want to necessarily pay for the writers to come out and stay for production. So the fact that we're able to do that at all in the show is really cool.
Yes.
But yeah, the strike definitely affected several shows that are airing now.
And just speaking to the piece of like you're having to revise an entire script or half of a script in 24 hours, like with all of these like dynamic changes, like how also does that like go into the writing? Like, do you feel as though like you're putting in like that frustration, or do you feel like you're putting in like that angst, like that you're feeling like when you are like in those moments? Do you feel like those kind of like mix in also to the writing as well?
I don't think so. For me personally, I write when like you're writing off the outline, or in this case, I was writing off of notes that I scribbled on a piece of paper. But either way it goes, I think like the job of a writer on someone else's show is to write the show that someone else created. So you're writing someone else's voice,
Yeah.
and like I feel like for Lacey and I, who have been on the show since season 1, we've read enough scripts to kind of understand for this show specifically what that looks like and what it means. So I'm writing ferociously because it needs to get done, but I don't feel any anxiety about the words that I'm putting out there. But also for me, a trick that I did for 301, because I was so nervous about writing 301, like you have no clue. I literally watched episodes like seasons 1 and 2 on a loop while I wrote the episode, so that I could hear the voices of the characters and I could like imitate it, like the cadence while I was writing. And for that 24 hours, I had access to like earlier cuts of some of the, and that's what I did. I just like ran it on my laptop, and then I started writing it because I knew I had to flip it, and I knew it had to be right because I was told that it had to be right. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this done, like no problem. Like, so the anxiety piece of it, I don't know. I don't necessarily write from a place of like anxiety. The pressure gives you that motivation to get it done, but it doesn't show up on the page.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Man, I don't know what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say like that literally flows into what we were about to ask you.
That literally flows into like what? That's really what was on the questions. Like you go ahead.
You go. This is your part now.
Like literally, we wanted to ask you like, what mechanisms do you use to keep the characters consistent? It sounds like rewatching does help while you're writing. That's so cool. But are there any others that you could like kind of peel the curtain back on?
I'm trying to think. I mean, for like literally, I will reread scripts that is sometimes like to help like reread certain screens, like scenes specifically. If I'm like, oh, how did this other episode tackle like a party scene, and so you like read that portion of the script, maybe watch that portion of the episode, and be like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like I could do that, like so stuff like that just to get it through. But I do feel like it was specifically for 301 just because like I was co-writing with like the number 2 in the room. Next level pressure, and I just remember sitting down to write the outline like, oh, I've never done this before. Like hit me when they said you need to write this thing, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, I know what it looks like, never done it before. And that level, so that's when I rewatched it. But when I sat down to write 409, I feel like it was the 9th episode. We had been in the room for so long. I had been like, it was just like, yeah, we about to knock it out, so it's a little different.
That's really interesting. Lacey, do you do the same or anything slightly different?
I would say, I mean, I think that Ashley's totally right. Like watching the show,
Yeah.
I think that we had a
Yeah.
little bit of an advantage because some of the characters were carried over from Power, and I
Yeah.
was a Power fan, so I was like already watching that show. I already knew those voices.
Mhm.
Also, when I decided that I wanted to start writing scripts, I started writing spec scripts. So what
Okay.
happens a lot of the time now is people will be like, "Don't waste your time writing a spec script. Write an original pilot," which is totally good advice, and I think it's very relevant. But because that's not how I started out, I started out writing specs. So a spec is when you write like an episode of an existing show
Yeah.
that you didn't create. So I wrote like a Blackish spec. I wrote like a Shameless spec.
Wow.
So I already had like kind of trained myself to watch a show, hear voices again that I didn't create, like Ashley said, and be able to kind of like take that and translate it onto a page.
Yeah.
So part of it is also like we had a little bit of an advantage of like some of the characters were carried over from Power.
Yeah.
And I was writer assistant season one. I was staffed season two as a writer. So like some of those voices had already been established as well. So I was able to kind of watch those episodes. I think that reading it is really good, but what's really good for I guess the way that my brain works is hearing it because I think that sometimes you'll write something on the page and like the actor still says it differently or like the cadence of their voice or the way that they interpret it is just a little bit different. So being able to actually hear that and also like again the advantage of being on set is being able to like look an actor in the face and like as you're rehearsing hear it from their voice and be like that's not them, like that doesn't sound like
Okay.
them, being able to immediately change it on
Um,
the page, and be able to like just feed them the line and be like we're changing it, this is actually this sounds
Yeah.
better. So
Totally. Yeah.
yeah, but I would say listening, yeah.
Yes, and that's so cool. I guess like that definitely makes sense. But like I guess like when you're thinking about this, because even just from the outside looking in, for example, and one of the exercises we're about to even dive into, I'm like, man, these characters, they're not like black or white. These are characters with a lot of depth in them. You know, like there's just they're very rich and it's carried through. And like Neri said, there's archetypes that do repeat, but sometimes they make different decisions. Like, do you all have any sort of like note structure that you even keep where it's like, man, or even when you're like doing that breaking process that you're talking about, where you're like, man, they need to hit this emotional, like, peak or valley, like, how do you all keep track to make sure that you're not giving that character the same thing to do? Because I mean, I don't even know if y'all are thinking about it that hard, but it just feels like, these characters, they're not like other like kind of more flat characters. These are very dynamic and they have multi layers.
Um, I will say, I mean, the way that I guess it's Courtney. Like I just have to give her credit because she's the only person that I even the only room I've heard of that ever does it. But a big part of working on Power Ghost is like you start in the room, we do blue sky, we talk about theme, we do all the things, but before we break any episode, everyone writes a character doc. And
Ah,
that character doc is based on what that character's theme is for the season and also their sub themes.
okay.
And we intertwine in those sub themes how those sub themes connect to other characters. We give the characters like quotes. Like it's like
Wow.
we spend time before we say episode one. We spend time with the characters and everybody's assigned a character. You write a character doc, let's say with 3 to 5 pages or something, but
Okay.
it's really explaining to not only the room but the studio execs like who this character is this season,
Mm.
where we started them, where they'll end up by episode 5, and then where we're taking them at the finale. We give them that full arc before the season starts. Not saying everything in that document lives, but you like one person in that room should have such a clear understanding of who this character is that their emotions episode to episode should be tracking with where they're going, not where they've been. And so that is like a system that we kind of grew up in as writers that I'm gonna say Courtney created because I don't know who created it. I'm gonna just give her credit. So yeah, but that characters are solid because that we create them, and one person is they are their guardian for that season.
That's
Mhm.
so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I don't know. Are y'all able to share like any characters that you've been guardians
Yeah.
over in the past, like even in past?
Yes. I mean, I guess sure. Who cares, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't remember who I had season 1 because the assistants also get characters.
Okay.
I think I may have had like Carrie question mark.
Okay.
Sure.
I don't remember. I can't believe I can't remember who I had season 1. I think it was someone in the academic world though. If it wasn't Carrie.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Season 2, I had Drew.
Okay.
Season.
Okay.
Okay.
I do.
Wow, I don't know. For some reason, I'm blanking on who I had season 3.
Were you wait season 3?
Because season 2, I was definitely Drew. Like I know for sure I was Drew
Right.
season 2, and for season 5, I was Effie. Season
Season 4.
4. Sorry,
Yeah.
season 4, I was Effie. But season 3, it'll come to me. It'll come to me. You know what? It'll come. Oh wait! Oh my gosh! I had Monet season 3.
Oh, you were on that season 3. I didn't know that. I thought, I thought someone. I don't know who I thought season 3. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, for like I didn't season 1 and 2. I didn't do character docs. Season 3, it was the legal team, specifically Sachs, but it was all of the RICO legal process for season 3. And season 4, I did Monet.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, no. One stand-up moment that even just happened today because I was like, just reviewing things and just even talking about Drew, like you're saying, Lacey. It stuck out to me when he was behind his boyfriend and about to take him out, and then he got the text. I was like, oh my goodness. I literally texted. I was like, I forgot he was about to take him out at that point in time.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, it's like those emotional beats that it just I don't know, it clenches your heart, but it makes sense why that character made that decision at that time. That's so cool that you were looking after him.
Yeah. And as Ashley said, we write the character docs, and of course things just can change naturally throughout the season, but it does help guide that character's journey throughout the season for sure. So it doesn't mean I'm the only person that was responsible for Drew that season. It just means that that's who I was assigned for that season. Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes somebody's like, "Wait, whose character is this?" Because they wilding. And then somebody's like,
100%.
Oh man, that's really cool. Well, this kind of leads us. Or did you have any other character questions?
Oh no, that was great.
Yeah, this leads us into one of the last segments we'll do before a rapid fire question round. But really, just wanted to show you something that's kind of inherent to the Hot Nerd Net channel, and it's character maps. So we have these personality systems. You already named some pre-show. There's astrology. If you guys have ever heard of Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, those are the numbers, and many, many others. There's you'll see them in just a second, but that's something that I love and study and nerd out over, and Neri has to hear so much about it. But it's fun because it helps me see what characters are similar to who, and I would like to test it on the people actually writing them. So this I'd love to see. So yes, we'll come over here, and of course we have to take the titular Tariq. These are just some of these different aspects that Tariq has shown, and shout out to the personality database. This has been voted on by 50, 100 people that say okay, Tariq is an INTJ for his Myers-Briggs, or a 5 wing 6 for his Enneagram, right? And you don't have to know what these are. I can definitely explain. Okay. You're what does this mean?
No, and honestly, I realized recently that my vision is not what it used to be. So I'm what
does this say? Yeah, so these are some of the different ones. And let me see if I can even sit it out here. But really, I'm interested in just some of the characters below here. And honestly, I mean, even one I kind of in moment I do want to switch out because it really is. I forgot that he is actually this type. What is Ghost? Jamie. And I really want to talk to it, but my question for you all as you're looking at these characters are, who does Tariq, for you, each of you individually, who does Tariq remind you of?
Who does Tariq remind me of? As far as
the people who we can see right here.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yep, outside of these characters. I don't know. Is this okay?
Yeah, I can see it. You said outside of these characters, or
inside, within these.
You just added his father, so
I was gonna say.
I'm sorry, I was like, because he definitely fits that too.
Yeah.
But whoever gets it first, please.
I mean, I was gonna say Ghost as well. I guess we're taking Ghost off the table if that feels too obvious. I
Mhm.
actually would say Diana, maybe. And I think it's partially
Mm.
because, she kind of came up in a similar way.
Yeah.
Like her family has their family business,
Mhm.
right? And it's something that she's a part of. And we saw season one that, she really just wanted to go to school. She wanted to go to school. At one point, she wanted to play basketball.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So she just kind of like has her own aspirations, but is constantly being pulled into her family business and constantly being pulled into her family drama. And so I think that like in some ways Tariq can definitely relate to that, and she can relate to him in terms of having parents who are in the life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's probably the
And I
next
guess if
one.
we're saying outside of JSP, then I'm the other person on the list I would say is Tasha. Both
Okay.
very intelligent,
Yep.
biggest goddamn drug dealer in New York. I feel like if Tasha were a man, she would take that from James St. Patrick because
Wow.
she had the drive and motivation that we wanted him to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if we think back to season one, like she's the one who gave him the idea to cut up the Jamaicans and send them across New York City, right? So it's like
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, yeah, she's a natural at it. She just like I feel like lived in a time where a woman couldn't be the biggest goddamn drug dealer in New York.
Fair, right? Fair. So even like, oh, go ahead. You gonna say something?
No, no, no.
I was gonna say, even going back to Diana, like if you look under her, she says like 351, the technical expert,
Right.
and this, in a sense, like connecting it back to personality world, connects to the Enneagram tri-type, and so Enneagram is the way that people process, like real people process their emotions, and the technical expert in particular, like they are known for being like diligent, focused, knowledgeable. They want to be ethical, efficient, and wise, but sometimes to their detriment, like they can be difficult to manage, or they're very precise and good with exacting details, but them themselves are very rebellious. So I don't know. Does that sound like both Diana and Tariq to you?
I think so. Definitely like certain pieces of that, right?
Yeah.
Ashley's nodding, so I'm like, you must.
Yeah, no, certain pieces of it for sure. I do see the parallels between the two characters, like, and some of the things you just said. I'm like, Tariq falls into it. I just like for me, Diana is much more like siloed, and Tariq is much more, But they do definitely have major similarities, especially with the way that they were like reared by their parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is literally how like you get your Enneagram because of like how you're mirroring from your parents. It's so cool. And then moving back over to Tasha, I thought this was cool when I saw this because caloric melancholic, that is referring to a personality system called temperaments. And when I was going back in preparation for this, watching like that first episode of the first season, it just that was where they were having like, I mean, they interweave a lot, but that episode especially, they were talking so much to each other. And I was like, man, to read like to me at least, he does give some like a similar temperament to his mom. Choleric means like leader, like they're gonna get ish done, okay? But
Yeah.
melancholic means that like they can have a sadness to them as well, and like there can be a part of themselves that they just keep to themselves, even with their closest people. And I felt like that was a balance that he might have even learned from her. You think like, oh, you learned that from your dad, but I'm like, he might have even he spent more time, it seems like, with his mother in certain circumstances. I was like, that would make sense that they would have a similar temperament. But let's see what y'all thought.
Oh yeah, definitely. For me, it's yeah. If you take Jamie out, I'm like, sign me up for Tasha. He did spend more time with her as a child. Like we saw Ghost in and out trying to get out the game, get in the game. He moved in with Angela. He was all over the place, and the kids were at home. They never lived with him exclusively. So Tasha was his primary parent.
Yeah.
And like with the exception of his other teachers like Kanan and Tommy, she is technically the person who taught him the game. So
Yes.
in season 6. So
Yeah, I was going to mention that, like, between the two, like, she's the one who actually wanted to be honest about how things were and how, you should navigate through this. And whereas Ghost was still trying to be a bit more, like, protective and, not necessarily let him into all of the things where it's like, well, in order to prepare my children, or, in order for them, in a case like to inherit the things that we are going to be leaving behind, like it is important for him to start like really understanding these things for what they are, and not what we tried to paint a picture of to protect them. Like, now you really need to know the truth because you're here, like, and there's no going back. And I think we saw that even from the original Power series, like after he killed Ray Ray, it's like, whatever you thought, whatever life you knew beforehand is now completely over. Like, and now I really have to, give you step by step that, like, I think if for both of them, like for both Tasha and James, like if they had at least given them some sort of notice, or like some sort of guidance as to what is really going on. I know they wanted to protect their kids as much as they could. Even similar to what we're seeing like with Noma and Anya, like where she hasn't kind of broken the ice yet as to what what she's really doing in the background, versus it's a completely different trajectory with Monet, who fully immersed her kids and actually said you have no other choice but to
the business, so the family business,
right, the family business.
Yes, like Power could use some balance. That's what that's
absolutely. And like, I mean, since we mentioned the big man himself, we have to come down to Ghost. Jamie, man. I mean, so here with the King, Magician, Warrior, this is referring to a personality system called like masculine archetypes. This is like by Carl Jung, and it's supposed to represent the deepest part of our psyche that it lives in our subconscious. So this is actually different than Myers-Briggs, which is like the style, very like, egocentric. This is like the things that we don't know actually that we're responding to. And it's funny that because he had the exact same, like he is King, Magician, Warrior, whereas right now Tariq is Warrior, Magician, King. But just even the words that they evoke probably bring up images that you can kind of think of. King meaning that this is somebody that wants to lead, wants to control, wants to have like systems in place. Magician meaning that like he's a strategist, and the fact that like he can sometimes be a little bit of a trickster, like always thinking 10 steps ahead, weaving together a plan that nobody's really going to see. Some people can if they have that strength, but others might not be able to. And then Warrior, of course, kind of speaks for himself. A fighter, not willing to get hands dirty, but can also deal with a lot of anger internally. So I didn't know like if just even seeing this mix, if you would agree that these are some. I know you don't know all seven. There's seven. There's also like archetypes like father and lover. And, it's like I personally could see where Ghost was a little lower on those other archetypes and higher on these, even though of course he possesses all seven. But would love to get your thoughts.
I think what's interesting, and like I'm not super familiar with this, so like I'm not sure if this is true, but are these things that they can change over time? Because I wonder if like right now, like that is the order of Tariq's, but I wonder if like we were to fast forward in 5 to 10 years, if they would be in the same order that these are.
It might be. You can see Ghost as king right now, but right now, say like people are voting at least that Tariq is in warrior mode. I even think like him as magician.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah,
I think that's true too right now. But also, even if you look, I don't know all of them either, so I won't pretend I do. But even if you take Power, because it did start and stop, it's like there are seasons where James is King, Magician, Warrior.
Yes.
Once you get to like season like 6, he's trying to be father, right? He's like, I want to take the kids to Albany. I don't want Tariq messing around in drugs. He's in his father. There were like season 2, he's in Miami with Angela. He's all boy, right? Like he's like, I'm a lover man, right? Like he's
a lover. Oh, that scene. I'm thinking of the exact scene in Miami.
Like all about Angela, no one else, right? So I feel like definitely you could probably take them and take episodes and be like he's like, but I feel like it's true to everyone, right? We're all so many different things at once.
Oh yes, that's everything. Like that's all these personality systems. We have everything in ourselves, especially as real human beings. But we just choose to use certain ones at certain points of times, and especially at certain stretches of life. So you're completely right, Lacey, too. But yeah, that kind of, I don't know if you have any last thoughts, but that kind of concludes that exercise. Thank you so much for diving in there to something of the unknown, but completely like
What
fun.
is Nomas? I
very
just
cool.
want to know what Nomas is.
Oh yeah, so if we go back,
I didn't know if you want to pull it up. I
I'm
saw
also
her
curious
face.
if
But I
Professor
didn't.
Bennett.
Oh, okay. She's the architect.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, and INTJ. So this is referring to like somebody's style in the world and how they would approach like their like certain things very right off bat. So for them, both her and Tariq are introverted. They're also the dominant function for this is NI, which means introverted intuition. So that can refer to somebody who is always thinking 10 steps ahead into the future.
Yeah.
They pretty much live in the future. And they want to make sure that all their plans, especially mixed with the T, that they can kind of organize others to get to that final vision and goal that they want to get to. So that's why it's called the architect.
I think that's so true for Tariq.
Yes, they're both. They both are INTJs.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that feels like Tariq. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, did you want to know about any others? Happy to dive in.
I'm curious, what does Rock say?
Yes. So, shout out Rock. That's Mary's favorite character. And
My favorite female lead character for sure.
For sure. So Rock, this is representing her and Tariq's connection with their Enneagram instinct. So we talked about Enneagram in reference to Diana in terms of her tri-type, but those tri-type, like those numbers can also differ depending on what are your initial instincts. We have 3. So one for her dominant instinct is self-preservation. So thinking about security, thinking about food, shelter, money, like what is going to make sure I'm healthy and the people that I love around me are healthy and good and straight, versus sexual, which is 1-to-1. That's her secondary. That means that it's like that you and me against the world sort of vision, and wanting to be as like, they're very like, not contentious, but they're very passionate people. Like they thrive off of chemistry but that can also like fizzle out very quickly too. Like it could be very high highs, but also very low lows. And this would inherently mean that her lowest in her the instinct she relies on the least, even though it's still there, is social. So she probably doesn't really care a lot about what other people think. Doesn't operate off of like a tribe mentality that much. She much rather choose either herself or her and somebody else versus like what others will be best for others. So, yeah, pretty much exactly. So Tariq would be similar that way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
I feel like some of these are spot on.
Yeah, they feel spot on for sure.
Yeah. That makes us so happy. Thanks for asking.
You just made her life.
That's back. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, you want to take us to that last section?
Yes. So we are approaching the end, but we have our quick rapid fire question that we want to go over with you both. So these are just going to be quick questions, and these are going to be your first initial reaction. So we will start with your
first initial reaction, like no explanation, like just the answer.
Just the answer. Yep. So we'll start with favorite villain. And this could be in just Power Book 2, or it could be the entire Power universe as well.
Open it up. Ooh.
Yeah.
Or you get both if you want to
get both too.
Okay, I do have, that's why I asked, like, do we have an explanation? Because I feel like one of the really cool things about our show is that everyone could be a villain, but everyone else could be a villain, kind of like oscillating between the two constantly. So like, what are we defining as a villain? Are we saying like a villain, like someone who's done bad things? Are we saying a villain like who is literally like a big bad in our show, like Noma, for for example.
Ooh, I know.
Because you make a very astute point. We don't have a shadow.
Before you answer her question, my answer is going to be Tariq, and I don't think people consider him a villain.
That's why you have to ask. This is the power universe.
Right.
You gotta
Right.
I love Tariq is the anti-hero. He's like the hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we want to actually hear both. So kind of like the big bad villain, but also, someone who you think, may not necessarily come off as a villain, but they do have some conniving ways, or they do have that like darker side that does come out, because you definitely, like you said, could see it with all of them. Even now I'm thinking of Drew. It's like, Drew's not so innocent as we like to
love him. It's like,
I genuinely think that all of our characters have been villains in some way at some point. Or something that we would consider villainous. Yeah. So that's the only reason I asked it, but I think Tariq's a really good answer. I was going to say Kane.
Oh, Kane? Yeah. He had a lot of anger.
Got a lot of anger. That's funny.
But in terms of like big bad specifically, I would say Mecca.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mecca is my favorite villain from Ghost for sure.
Okay.
Wow. That's so cool.
Interesting.
Cool.
Okay.
Next one.
Yes. Next one then will be best dressed.
That's for her. She
loves.
Wait. I know this is probably not the popular answer, but let's be clear. Kane and his all black always hits. The all black.
I was thinking that today. I was like, "Oh,
it is."
I was like, "This is a nice fit." He was sitting down somewhere. I wish I knew an episode. But yes, I thought that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, I never thought all black look good, but every time, like Kane's like all black, do rag, no do rag, don't matter.
Because it's different than Tommy's style, which is still all black, but I think it's very much more simplistic, and I think he wants it to be that way because he's not trying to be flashy. But Kane like takes it to another level. Like, I'm gonna give you black, but I'm gonna give it to you like in excellence, in luxury.
And it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna give money.
Okay,
I'm gonna say Tariq.
Yes, I really love Tariq's style because I don't feel like I get to see, I don't know, I mean, guys be stuck out here at DC, sometimes New York, but Tariq, like, I was like, wait, I would really, like, I'd like that. Like, I would wear that, like, I don't know, it's very nice. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he's trying to inherit his dad's suit game in this show, too.
I did that.
I guess we have to, but we have to be fair to the women, because all of like Mary brings it. Her wardrobe is always up to her. Diana also is always on. Yeah, she's always.
Yes,
Diana's so pretty.
Yes, I agree. Yes. Okay, next one is character you relate the most to.
Oh, Diana. That's my easy answer.
Okay.
Cool.
That's my easy answer.
I think my answer is gonna get me eaten up. But I'm gonna say Effie. I'm gonna say.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna get you eaten up.
I think that there's like this very specific perception of Effie. I think that I can relate to like the hyper independence piece that she has. I can relate to like she's extremely logical. She's very realistic. She's like relentless in pursuing her goals. Like. And I think that, of course, in the power universe, sometimes that means like doing people wrong. Sometimes that means transactional experiences and situations. But like in the real world, like someone who is just like, in the real world, that happens too. But I think that I love like just how independent she is. I love how intelligent she is. I love how logical she is. She tries her best to remove her emotions from her decisions. It doesn't always happen, but she's also human. Like, I can relate to her character.
Absolutely. Like, and I love that you talk about her and just these characters in a way where it's like not judging them, it's like even separating them out. Like you said, in this universe, she's this one. Like, I mean, she makes these decisions, but she probably would make other ones with the same framework of mind that she's moving in if she wasn't in the circumstances that she was in. That's super cool.
Yeah. I try to think about just everyone like that in real life too. Yeah. I think some people will be like, I would never do that. And I'm like, you actually don't know.
You don't know that. Right.
You're not in that person's situation. You don't know actually what you do.
Right.
So, absolutely. We all have a shadow.
Judge them. Yeah.
And that's what reminds me about Rock as well,
Yeah.
because I think she's also another like polarizing character who, you know, kind of gets a bad rap because she does make the hard decisions, and you know, sometimes it backfires, and she's not necessarily willing, but she could take, you know, the brunt of that, whether it's good or bad. And I think Effie carries that same sort of character as well. Like, you know what? Yeah, Lauren has to go, and I guess I have to be the one to do it. Like everyone else is hiding. You know what? We have to make this decision, but it still has to happen. And it's like she's the one that's like, you know, willing to step up, or even just in this season as well. Like when she was going to talk to the Russians to make that deal, to broker that deal for Noma. It's like I'm the one, you know, trying to take the initiative to really, you know, make this happen. And whereas like a lot of others were, you know, maybe a bit more scared, like a bit more hesitant, like, are you sure we really want to do this? And it's like, you could definitely see that kind of aura about her. So I stand with you, Lacey. I'm an Effie fan as well. Okay. And then our last one would be a character you wish you could bring back from the dead. And we'll say, okay, other than Ghost.
Yeah, we
because
won't,
because that would be an obvious answer, but or maybe not. But who else comes to mind?
What's funny is that this is whatever. If we're talking about power, I'm going to say Angela.
Yes, some people don't like her. She
I'm
gets
Like,
I like Angela.
No. I'm only going to say Angela because I'm like, given the opportunity, could that couple have actually made it? I'm not sure.
I think so too.
I don't know if they could or not. I don't think
Judges me for liking.
I have to give you a strong
as a married woman myself, I don't, you know, the cheating and all the things.
Yeah.
But once him and Tasha broke up, I'm like, could they have actually rekindled their little high school thing without all of the intermingles of you know, drugs and jail, you know, drugs in jail.
Very true. I feel as though they had like that genuine like love story connection, but no.
We won't live with that one. It's fine. From Ghost though, I'm going to say, and this is no one will care about these characters, but I personally like them, was the Castillo family. That was like, it was Evelyn, not Gordo. We could keep Gordo dead, not Gordo, but the brothers.
Yes, yeah. We were literally just talking about them earlier, so it's like, oh, I'm glad you brought them up. Okay,
they were nice. They actually I like that family. I feel like we could have done a lot of great things with them. But when they died, I was like, oh, we killed them all.
Yeah.
All of them. We forced them out like chickens. Like, boop, boop, boop.
100%. No, actually, that's a really great answer. I think what's funny about that, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the writers' rooms, like where someone's perspective could be like, this is the best pitch ever, and like, get rid of this, let's slaughter this entire family, and like, that's great. And then there's some people in the room who are like, actually, there's so much more we could do with them. I don't know. So it's fun to like kind of even just hear everyone's perspectives. Like, I know Ashley's usually, but like, I wouldn't have guessed that would be your answer. But I think
I was on set for 308. They died 309, and I texted the showrunner and I was like, is it too late to change 309? Don't kill these people. And he was like, get off my phone, bro.
Yeah. I feel that way, though. That's painful. Man.
I would say from Ghost specifically, because like from Power, I would also say Ghost too. But I would say Lorenzo. And I know. And what's crazy is like he was killed in my episode.
Right, I was gonna say that.
He was in my episode, but like I really loved his character. Berto, who plays Lorenzo, is one of the most like incredible people ever to work with. So I would love just the chance to like work with him. But I also think that there's a lot more that we could have done with his character too. I think that he brought a certain like weight to the Tejadas. That I think that, you know, if brought back to life, he 100% like add to the story. So I would say Lorenzo.
Absolutely.
Yes, we kind of got a glimpse of that when Monet was not, I wouldn't say in her co
She's on Harold's doorstep.
reminiscing of like old times, things like that. So we definitely got a glimpse, like if they honestly both of them, Becca and Lorenzo, were back, like how they would be kind of menaces like to her and to her whole experience. But I feel as though that would be interesting, like if they were still alive today, like how the entire story would be, like who would be in charge, really, because those are three, strong leaders that were like, no, it's me. No, actually, it's me. No, it's actually me.
Yes. What that would really do is allow for the children to choose. Like, they never had a choice.
Wow,
When they were in jail and Monet was the only parent at home, then of course Lorenzo comes home, they're together. If they break up, it allows the children to say like, well, I want to go be with Poppy, and maybe it just leaves Monet at home alone to reminisce about all the mistakes she made as a mother.
Yes.
Which is coming to grips with this season. Like, am I really a bad mother? And everybody's like, yeah.
That's a big debate of everywhere. Is Monet a bad mother? But I won't get into it.
That comes up a lot, but I also feel like at least on social media, all of the women, all of the moms in the show, it does come up like whether or not Tasha's a good mom, whether or not
I know.
a good mom. Like that is a constant conversation on the internet too.
Absolutely. It's so interesting because obviously going back to what you were saying about, are you faced with the same hard choices that these women were? I see people like, I don't know, not always like taking their sides, but they do. I like that there's enough women that they can have a different dynamic to how they approach motherhood. And even now with Diana about to be a new mother herself, potentially, that is very interesting because even in this latest episode, there's questions that her mother is asking her, like, or she's asking herself, like, I don't want to bring my child up in this environment. Monet did exactly that. So it's like, it's just interesting to see how she would even potentially, in opposition to her mother, choose a different way.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about what you just said is that the different, like we've seen where Monet was at in the first half of the series.
Yeah.
When she was making that choice, clearly a place of poverty. She made the choice to give her kids privilege, and now her child can choose, I don't want to bring my child up in this, but Monet maybe felt like she didn't have that same choice. Yeah. So it's like she's going against her mom without realizing that the reason that she even has the choice is because of her mother.
Wow.
Yeah. Because it definitely reminds me of the flashbacks that they were having in the show. Like, like had they not, like you said, like been impoverished, had they had all the things that they needed, like, no, I don't think she would have, really hard on pursued, selling drugs at that point. But she's like, I'm doing this because I am trying to make a better future for our kids. And so, just in that, comes a lot of other decisions. And, a slippery slope, as you could say, as to, how we can get to this, bad mother sort of narrative. But let's go back all the way to the beginning, like when she made the first decision, that kind of led to where she is now. And, would you say the same thing then? Like as we're also talking about, like looking at somebody holistically and not just for kind of like those singular decisions.
Right. Yeah. Lacey will tell you, anybody in the writer's room will tell you, I'm a Monet apologist. I'm not ashamed of it, actually.
Don't be ashamed of it. I like that.
I'm like, she's fine. She ain't doing anything. Fuck
I think, in the room, we all have our like hills that we die on.
Yeah.
And that is like Ashley's hill. Like no matter what the argument is, Ashley is like ready. She's standing on the hill, ready to die.
Business promote.
Monet stood business every day.
I love that. Yes, ride it, Dawn.
Yes. Oh my God.
I don't know if we're about to close. I was glancing at the little thing you sent, and it's one question that you have to ask, and it's the Easter egg question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't want. Do I say stop? Like for
no,
I don't.
That's fine. We can just ask.
Like cut me out of saying that shit.
I'm dead at you. Yes. No. please, if you want any questions that you want us to ask,
That-
we're
I-
just trying to save on time.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Ask the questions.
That could be a part of the rapid.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be. Because I have one that instantly when I saw Easter egg, I'm like, oh, I know my favorite all time Easter egg in Ghost.
We were talking about one
I
this morning. I
know,
wanted for us to
yes.
say, but you asked me. Go ahead.
Yes.
Only one is even coming. Okay, we'll just go. I'll just say
So
my
maybe
one.
we all have the same one. Like that would be crazy.
I'm curious. Okay, let's just say the one, and then
Yes.
I'll say my one because
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Start us off, Lacey.
Oh, my Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think a good Easter egg was the reveal that Mecca put away Lobos and that he knew Tommy and Ghost.
Yeah.
I think for me, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good Easter egg just because I was like, one, I love when we do anything that keeps Ghost alive, but like specifically like in terms of like the presence that he has in New York and his footprint in New York and like making that footprint very real and recognizable to Tariq, but also characters who've never met Ghost. So like Brayden's never met Ghost.
Right.
So it's like even having like moments like that are really interesting to me. And I felt like it was a reveal that the audience wasn't expecting because we tied Mecca so closely to Monet and to Zeke and to the family as a whole that to like also be like, oh, and by the way, he's also connected to Tommy and Ghost and also put away Lobos. Like, I thought that was good.
That's crazy.
Yes,
Yep.
I like
that
that.
to mind.
I like
when
that.
you say that.
Not to see one, but I do like that. I wasn't thinking that.
No, I didn't think that either. All right, so this is my favorite Easter egg came in 205, so season 2, episode 5.
Mhm.
Written by Aisha. That is the episode where Tariq gets arrested and he gets perp walked across campus.
Yeah.
If you watch that specific scene, the same song that's playing when Tariq gets arrested is the same song that was playing in 310 when James St. Patrick got arrested. It's the exact same song. It's Unknown by Jacob Banks is the name of the song. To me, that is like the genius of Courtney A. Kemp at his all-time greatest, and it's one of the greatest Easter eggs for him to get arrested to the same song that his father got arrested to. Wow. And the theme of the series is "Am I My Father?"
Wow! Wow!
No, that's a great one. That's a great one.
It's like
I can go back and watch those scenes now.
When I saw the episode, I was like, "This is here." It brought it. I was like, "This is what we need in TV right here."
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
That's a really good one.
I do think another one that's like, it was like iffy for me, but I feel like people were like, "Oh shit," when they realized that Junior was the same Junior from Power that came back in season this season, season 4.
This season,
yeah, like people were like, "Oh shit, that is Angela's nephew."
Yes,
like, people were
yes.
like, "Oh, we brought him back," you know.
Yes,
I think it might have been actually in the end of
It was last season
because he was like in my episode, but that scene got cut. So like
he was in 308 because he followed Effie when she went to the that warehouse to collect all no frap stuff. So you're right. It was season 3. Yeah.
Yeah, because one of like I wrote episode 5 of season 3. Mm-hmm. One of the scenes that never happened now, but what's happening right before Lorenzo was killed involved Junior and Blanca. And like that scene just got cut completely, so it's just like not there. But yeah, he was in season 3, so
yeah, he was.
Yes. That's so cool. Like I love Easter eggs where it's like those that are paying attention, they get rewarded because that's one of them. And people who are probably new to the show, like just watch this spinoff, they're probably like, "Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool." I mean, I know the character now, but those who were watching OG,
I remember being on set for 308 and Alex Lepre, who plays Effie, walked up to me and was like, "Am I tripping? Do I know this actor?" And I was like, "Well, look at him closely." And she's like, "Damn, that's like," and I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I didn't know he was coming back." Like it was like, so even the actors had that response.
Wow, that's so
the audience was had that response at some point if they realized it, because he didn't have any lines or anything in 308. I don't think he was just following her through New York City as she like dealt drugs in coffee cups, you know?
Yeah.
As one does.
Regularly.
And her beat down, what was it, Toyota or something? You know? Yeah, like the car was crazy.
Yeah. Even though minor, I won't say minor, but my favorite is for the premiere of season 4. It's like seeing Tariq and Brayden like get dressed and they're all black, and
The
how
murder kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we call that their murder kit.
the
yeah,
murder
yeah,
kid.
that's what I was saying to myself. It's like I don't know what we gotta call this attire or what this outfit is, but when we see the all black and the hat and the skull, y'all, it's over.
It's the Scully for me. He looked just
Yeah.
like Jamie. He put the skull cap. I'm like, oh god, this.
Yeah, that's my part. It's like, oh,
And it was really low. Like I don't know if you like if you go back and watch it, like it's so low that it covers his eye. Like it is like and Ghost kind of wore it similarly.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, having the little hot, like hideout room with all their guns and stuff, and then they get dressed and like they're all black. It's like, all right, something
Something about that happened.
Yo, that's a really good one actually was when when the murder kid is that's because
Murder kid. I gotta
with Power it's like
remember that.
in Power they did it frequently and it was like you knew they was about to fuck shit up, right? You was like, oh they about to go murder like 20 people, you know, like
Yeah.
Every time, especially when Raina died, and they were knocking on everybody's door, like outfit, commence. It's time to just go handle anything that has to happen. So
yeah, totally.
yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you both
Wonderful.
for joining us today. That will be a wrap for our first writer's room.
Yes.
So thank you for being our first guest for this new part that we're transitioning to for Hot Nerd Network. Again, Lacey and Ashley, this was just so fun. Like this, you just made our whole day.
Yes.
Like we've been talking about, we've been talking about this sort of conversation literally for years. Like it would just be so
even
cool,
before
so
Hot Nerd
cool.
Net was alive.
Right.
Like yes, for years. Yes.
So
But like I appreciate all three of you inviting me. I feel like excited to go write and do some stuff because it gives like creative energy, you know?
yeah, no, we were more than happy to have you on today. So when Lacey was like, can we bring Ashley on? I said, please. Ashley, please. With the quickness. But yes, thank you again for your time today. We had a blast. And if you are ever interested and want to come back and do another sequel or another episode for Hot Nerd Net, please
Let's do it.
Ashley's episode has not come out yet.
Yes,
So,
yes. After the finale.
I
Yeah.
was about to say, if you
fine.
do want to do something after 409, I feel like that's a good episode to do something maybe before 10 hits. Like we can do something quick. And Lacey too, of course. Like
Of course. Come on. Yes.
I mean, it's okay if you need your
It's
space.
I mean, I know why Lacey's saying that because it's a big episode, but I'm like, I feel like we should all get back together, all four of us, after 409 airs. And
yes.
I'm so down.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
Yes. So you heard it here, Hot Nerd Network.
I love some tweets.
You're having them
about
back.
the worst writer in Power history. I pull up tweets about how I'm the worst writer in
Oh,
Power. What? People gonna be mad as fuck after that.
Who said that? I've never seen that.
No, I'm talking about after 409 airs.
Oh, okay.
People are gonna tweet crazy things. And you know how they always blame
People are gonna tweet crazy things no matter what.
it's trash. Like
yes.
Oh
I feel
yeah,
like
people are gonna tweet crazy things no matter what.
yeah, totally. That I love it. I want to be the professional that like reads the bad tweets about myself.
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think that's
It's hilarious.
Okay, as long as you have that mentality,
Yeah.
I would be over here crying in the shower. But no, as long as you can laugh, then yes, like because it's just trolling. Like, it's just
What's funny is that I don't care. Those people couldn't write a script if they want.
not at all.
I'm like,
I'll give $1 million, write a professional script, and 98% of the people in the world would be like, I guess I don't have $1 million.
I'm out.
real. I think also what's crazy about our show that isn't true for like every show, right? Like this, as much as I love the show 911, like
It's so random.
So that's something. It's so random. I really enjoy that show. I don't get on the internet and tweet about it, right?
Right.
But like Ghost has such a like social following, like
Yes.
cult following. It has a social following. So like you know that there are people who are going to be up at midnight watching the episode,
Yep,
tweeting
yep.
spoilers, interacting with you for your page, sliding into your DMs to yell at you about something, or praise you about something. But we have such an interactive fan base.
Yeah.
One of the things I always like prep new writers that come on the show. I'm always like, this is what it's going to look like when your episode airs. So like just prepare.
Yeah.
Whatever way you need to prepare. I think it's really fun. Even like
Me
if
too.
the feedback is like, oh my God, I can't believe no one died in this episode. Like it's still very fun to interact with.
Yeah.
But it's something that like I think is kind of unique to our show and like shows that have like cult followings. Like
Social media definitely changed the game. Yeah, and I agree. Like my mom she's not like she never watched Power before. Like she's watched my episode only, right? But she would like I got staff. She's telling people I work on the show. She literally calls me one day and she's like, "Girl, your show popular." And I'll stay shit. And I was like, but it is what Lacey said is true. It's the reality. It's like we have phenomenal fans.
We do.
Yes.
And it makes it so fun. Like
Yeah.
will be like, oh yeah, my episode's coming out, and then like the way that the internet is excited about my episode, I'm like,
That's always Lacey. Yes.
I'm like, let me get my energy up.
Yes.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
That's how we coming for episode 9.
Yes, Ashley. No, because
Good.
it's been like I gotta fangirl, but it's been like even just from the outside looking in, Lacey. I know like it just from I don't even know from when we were in UMD to see you now, like it's like really crazy. It's really crazy. Like you are such a testimony, and so it's like that. I know it's like regular that this is your job, but it's like this is really cool. We have to go up and celebrate. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me, and honestly, being able to just like be in here, not just with you guys, but with Ashley, like this was so fun. Thank you for having us. Like the fact that you even like want to talk to me like means the world to me. So
What? We were nervous here. Like, I don't know what she's gonna say. I don't know. And then she's like, I'm bringing a friend. It's like, wow,
Beautiful.
you never know. The word my mom always says, like, the worst someone can say is no. And it's like, we just got 2.
Yeah.
We always thought we were gonna get 1. So it's like literally ecstatic. So
for sure.
thank you both again. Again, we are going to run this back after episode 9 so that we could get, all the juicy details too, to see how the story developed from there and to see if some of the things we even were talking about today, stand true, or are we going to be really surprised?
And then I can tell the story about why I had to rewrite.
Yes.
That'd be very interesting.
Tell the story without like leave. I will have to leave 90% of it out. I can actually tell you the phone call that I received. And people will be like, oh dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yes. We need the
We need
exclusive
it.
right here.
Yes.
About it.
Thank you.
But yes, thank you both again for joining our first ever Writers Room for Hot Nerd Network. You heard it here, folks. We are definitely going to run this back, and we're going to have them back so we could discuss later things. But yes, before we end, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to Hot Nerd Network, and just stay tuned for what we have next. But until then, folks, stay nerdy. Bye.
Bye.